1930 Moscow time, September 21, 2025, 6 commercial drones were 43 seconds away from destroying Vladimir Putin's exclusive Crimean guest house, the Magura V5 sanatorium. In a nutshell, Ukraine's HUR intelligence service was about to demonstrate that commercial drone technology could penetrate Russia's most sophisticated air defense systems and strike at the heart of occupied Crimea's command structure, forcing the Black Sea Fleet to retreat and widening the vital grain corridor by 20%. If you were the mission planner, would you have approved sending commercial drones against the most heavily defended coastline on Earth? Drop your answer in the comments, because what happens next rewrites the rules of modern warfare. The target? Magura V5 Sanatorium, Putin's personal Crimean compound where Russia's military elite gathered to plan strategic operations over classified documents. This fortress is protected by air defense layers that cost more than most countries' entire military budgets. We're talking Panzer S-1 systems at $20 million each, capable of tracking 20 targets simultaneously. S-400 batteries worth $1 billion, with long-range radar capable of detecting aircraft at extreme distances. Spetsnaz teams carrying $10,000 thermal scopes that can detect body heat from 2 miles away. Electronic warfare systems capable of jamming every electronic device within a 5-mile radius. The location itself was considered impenetrable. Perched on the Foros cliffs with the Black Sea as a natural barrier, surrounded by 4 state-owned dachas that served as FSB planning centers. The only approaches were heavily monitored, with overlapping fields of fire and multiple redundant detection systems. But here's the crucial fact. Ukraine's HUR intelligence service had spent weeks developing something they called the ghost chain, a tactic using commercial drones that anyone can buy online, modified with shaped charges that cost a fraction of the systems they threatened. This strike would force the Black Sea Fleet to pull back and widen Ukraine's vital grain corridor by 20%. That's millions of tons of food reaching hungry people instead of rotting in silos. The message was clear. Nowhere in occupied Crimea is safe, not even Putin's private compound. Earlier that evening, somewhere near Odessa, over 100 miles from the target, a Magura V5 maritime drone slipped into the Black Sea. This 16-foot fiberglass ghost is almost completely invisible to radar, equipped with Starlink for real-time control and special bay doors, concealing its deadly cargo. The Magura V5 carried 6 OSA FPV drones, each one just 13 inches across. These aren't military-grade weapons. They're commercial drones modified with 1.5-pound shaped charges capable of turning armor into abstract art. Total investment for all 6? About $12,000. The shaped charges work on a simple principle, a copper lining that becomes a superheated jet at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, moving at 25,000 feet per second. That's faster than anything humans have ever built. Hot enough to vaporize steel, precise enough to punch through 4 inches of armored glass like it's tissue paper. Meanwhile, the Russian defenses represented the pinnacle of modern military technology. The Panzer S-1 can unleash 4,000 rounds per minute from its 30mm cannons. That's 66 half-pound projectiles every second, each one traveling at Mach 3. The electronic warfare blanket can jam signals across a 5-mile radius, turning smart weapons into expensive paperweights. At 1931 local time, the Magura V5 reached its launch position 3 miles from the coast. The mothership slowed to a crawl, its bay doors opening silently. One by one, 6 OSA drones slipped into the darkness. The Magura provided each drone with a 10-second laser guidance lock before melting back into the shadows to begin its secondary mission. The OSA drones accelerated to 60 miles per hour, skimming the Black Sea's surface so low they were practically underwater with commitment issues. This is where the ghost chain tactic activated. The lead drone began dispensing 500 strips of aluminum chaff. Yes, the same material protecting leftovers in your refrigerator, but instead of keeping food fresh, it created what looked like hundreds of incoming missiles on Russian radar screens. The other 5 drones tucked behind this wall of electronic noise, invisible to the most sophisticated detection systems money can buy. The swarm hugged the base of the Foros cliffs, using the terrain to mask their approach. For exactly 2.7 seconds, they popped up just 12 feet to clear a Russian patrol boat ahead, then vanished back into the radar shadow. Physics was their ally, the curvature of the Earth and the cliff face creating a blind spot that no amount of technology could overcome. At 1932, a 20-knot wind gust slammed into the formation. Drone number 3, with a slightly corroded antenna from salt spray, developed a 2.3-degree targeting error. In the Odessa bunker, an operator fought to stabilize the bucking drone, sweat beading on his forehead as he wrestled with controls that suddenly felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. At 1927, there's a timeline discrepancy in the reports, but the sequence remains clear. A Russian Spetsnaz operator sweeping the cliffs with his thermal scope spotted a heat signature moving fast. He raised his specialized drone gun, an electromagnetic beam weapon that can fry electronics at 500 meters. The beam connected. The lead drone circuits fried instantly, and it crashed into the sea. The operator radioed his victory to command. What he didn't know was that he just eliminated the sacrificial lamb, the one drone meant to die. 30 seconds later, the Panzer S-1 battery near Yalta detected what appeared to be a massive incoming threat. The aluminum chaff cloud registered as a cruise missile on their screens. The system's computer made a split-second decision and launched a surface-to-air missile worth $200,000. The missile accelerated to Mach 3 in under 2 seconds. It slammed into the chaff cloud with devastating precision, creating a spectacular explosion that lit up the night sky. The operators celebrated their successful interception. They just spent $200,000 to destroy aluminum foil worth less than $1. Meanwhile, 10 miles offshore, the Magura V5 started broadcasting a fake electronic signature, mimicking a much larger vessel. A Russian patrol boat took the bait, racing out to sea to intercept what they believed was a high-priority target. The Magura led them on a 20-minute chase further into international waters, burning thousands of dollars in fuel while the real attack unfolded behind them. At 1928, sirens wailed across Sevastopol. A Su-30 fighter jet scrambled from the nearby airfield, its twin engines producing 27,500 pounds of thrust. The $50 million aircraft tore through the night at Mach 1.9, burning 300 gallons of fuel per minute. The drone swarm responded with tactical precision. 2 drones dropped into the sea clutter zone, that chaotic region where radar can't distinguish between waves and weapons. 3 climbed to 200 feet, creating multiple targets at different altitudes. The fighter pilot faced an impossible geometry problem: multiple threats near civilian structures where FSB officials lived. One wrong move could mean friendly fire casualties. The Russians activated their electronic warfare systems, creating an invisible hurricane of radio interference across 5 miles. In the Odessa bunker, screens filled with static. The connection was lost, but the OSA drones didn't need remote control anymore. Their onboard AI, running on processors less powerful than a smartphone, switched to internal gyroscopes with 98% accuracy. They continued toward their target with mechanical determination. Spetsnaz teams on the ground deployed kinetic nets and opened fire with thermal-guided machine guns. Streams of tracers painted the night sky. One OSA drone took a direct hit, exploding in a brief firework against the dark cliffs. 4 drones remained. At 1929, one OSA drone executed a pre-programmed deception. It changed its electronic signature to broadcast a civilian passenger plane IFF code. Its flight path suddenly appeared to target a local school. Russian commanders froze. Shoot down what might be a civilian aircraft? Or risk letting a weapon through? Their hesitation lasted only seconds. But in drone warfare, seconds are eternities. The 4 remaining drones emerged from the radar shadow of the cliffs with a clear line of sight. to the Magura V5 sanatorium. 20 miles out at sea, the Magura V5, now hiding in the shadow of a grain freighter, sent a single tight-beam laser pulse. The correction was minimal, just 3.6 degrees for drone number 3, but it meant the difference between a near miss and dead center. At exactly 1930, 4 green targeting boxes locked onto the thermal signature of the main hall where Russia's elite were gathered. Inside, the distant thunder of Panzer cannons was growing louder. A high-ranking official dropped his caviar glass, the crystal shattering on imported marble. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We jammed everything." The Panzer system went to a maximum rate of fire, 4,000 rounds per minute, creating a wall of steel in the air. But the 4 OSA drones didn't evade. They converged on their target from different angles, making interception nearly impossible. The lead drone's operator in Odessa whispered into his headset, "Fox 3, weapons release." 4 1.5-pound shaped charges detached simultaneously. Their fins snapped open, stabilizing them for terminal dive at over 200 miles per hour. The drone platforms banked hard toward the sea, their mission complete. The first warhead struck the glass roof of the main hall. 4-inch thick armored glass, rated to stop sniper bullets and RPGs, vaporized instantly. The warhead delivered 700 foot-pounds of force, equivalent to a pickup truck hitting at highway speed, concentrated into a space smaller than a coin. The shaped charge detonated. Its copper lining transformed into a superheated jet at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, moving at 25,000 feet per second. This finger of man-made lightning punched through the marble floor as if it were cardboard. The blast wave raced into the kitchen, severing gas lines with surgical precision. The secondary explosion that followed turned the entire western wing into a 100-foot column of fire. Another warhead found the VIP garage, where a $750,000 armored Mercedes became modern art. The explosive kind scattered across a quarter-mile radius. The final warhead struck the special event hall dead center. Secret war plans, strategic documents, and classified intelligence turned to ash in milliseconds. The electromagnetic pulse from the combined blasts fried every electronic system within a mile radius, leaving a massive section of the Crimean coast completely blind. By dawn, the Magura V5 sanatorium was a smoking ruin. The entire western wall had been blown into the Black Sea. What had been Putin's $50 million showcase of power was now a jagged scar on the coastline. In the concrete bunker beneath Odessa, the Ukrainian operator watched the satellite feed and allowed himself a small smile. They'd just achieved a 4,166% return on investment, $12,000 in drones, for $50 million in damage, not counting the strategic value of the destroyed war plans. The immediate tactical impact was significant. The Black Sea Fleet was forced to pull back from the Crimean coast. Ukraine's grain corridor widened by 20%, allowing millions of tons of food to reach global markets. The FSB's planning capability in the adjacent dachas was disrupted for months, but the strategic message was even more powerful. Nowhere in occupied Crimea was safe. If commercial drones could penetrate the most heavily defended airspace in Russian-controlled territory, what else was possible? The Russians had thrown their best technology at the problem: $20 million air defense systems, $50 million fighter jets, electronic warfare, thermal imaging, kinetic interception. All defeated by aluminum foil and drones that cost less than a decent motorcycle. The psychological impact rippled through Russian command. If Putin's own guest house wasn't safe, where could they plan their operations? Every coastal facility, every command center, every logistics hub suddenly looked vulnerable. The paranoia alone was worth more than the physical damage. This operation proved that in modern warfare, David doesn't need a sling anymore. He needs a laptop and an Amazon Prime account. The ghost chain tactic turned Russia's sophisticated defenses into an expensive fireworks show. They spent millions shooting at ghosts while the real threat slipped through. The mathematics of asymmetric warfare have never been clearer. At this exchange rate, Ukraine could theoretically destroy $20 billion worth of Russian assets with just $5 million in commercial drones. That's not warfare. That's a liquidation sale where everything must go, including your enemy's confidence. The Panzer system that fired 4,000 rounds per minute? It might as well have been firing at shadows. The Su-30 fighter burning 300 gallons per minute? It was chasing ghosts made of aluminum foil. The billion-dollar S-400 system? Blind to threats flying below its radar horizon. Physics delivered the final verdict. No amount of money, technology, or military might can overcome the basic laws of nature. Radar can't see through solid Earth. Electronic warfare can't jam autonomous systems, and shaped charges don't care how much your armor cost. Copper becomes plasma at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of your defense budget. The ghost chain proved something even more fundamental. Complexity creates vulnerability. The more sophisticated your defense system, the more ways it can be fooled. A strip of aluminum foil costing pennies, defeated missiles worth hundreds of thousands. Simple beats complex when simple is smart enough. So here's the question. If you were a Russian commander, how would you defend against low-cost drone tactics designed to bypass billion-dollar air defense systems? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll pin the most valuable answer. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss next week's analysis on how Ukraine adapted civilian jet skis into effective naval strike platforms. Modern warfare is no longer about size. It's about adaptability.